Frank Kwiatkowski, 45 years old. One of my earliest memories is actually I had drawn on the wall with the crayon. I think my sister Monica ratted me out or something, but I remember our mom got really pissed at me. She's like, "Who did this?" and stuff. And my sister ratted me out. And our mom would discipline us. I mean, she'd spank us and everything. So that's one of my earliest memories. It was just taking a crayon and probably just writing on the wall. But that's kind of the earliest point when I started to draw, and actually the first graffiti act, because it's doing illegal art. I'm a hit and run person. When I'm doing what I'm doing, I don't like to really interact with people. You got your guard up and everything. I think a lot of it's just that the production side of printmaking, I have an excess of prints. So they're not quality prints that you can flip. There's too many of them. So I definitely got into wheat pasting because it was an activity. Definitely almost kind of a recreational kind of a thing. There's the illegal element to it and everything. And it also goes back to just when I was growing up, it seemed like the content of what I was doing was really bothering my mom. It's well, why can't you just draw a landscape? Why can't you draw something pretty? I'm always going to say that I'm not human, and I say that because I prefer the word diabetic. It kind of bothers me when people want to take that terminology. They're like, you can't call somebody retarded, or you can't call them an epileptic. But I actually prefer being called a diabetic because I really do see it as a different path, because had I died, I'd just be dead. So to me, it was kind of post diagnosis, I ceased to be human. And there's just a huge distinct difference between myself and my siblings. I mean, it was clear, he can't do this, he's got to eat certain foods, he's got to take shots. And so I think you can try to normalize that, but there's nothing normal about it. It's very keeping somebody alive artificially. There's gonna be consequences. My friend in New York City who wheat pastes, he's type 1 diabetic. I'm there's not another type 1 diabetic doing this kind of work. So when through the internet I realized he existed and that he was kind of a veteran, he had the disease, he's still around, but he has 10 years on me. And when you see one of his wheat pastes, it's distinctly diabetes. I mean, it's a huge insulin vial. So these pieces that he's putting up, I was damn, there's not, culturally speaking, anybody type 1 diabetic who's repping us, who's, even attempting to give us a cultural stamp. When you think of diabetes, most people are probably going to be oh, Wilford Brimley, you got diabetes, and it's type 2. So you're fuck, because there's fewer of us. Both diseases are horrible, but there's no choice with this. It's insulin or die. And so when I did see his work and everything, I was that's the only other person I felt in this time era that was doing things artistically, specifically for type 1 diabetes. So when I eventually did pursue him, he delivered. And his sugar was a bit high, so he does what any of us would do. He does a correction dose. But the thing that really stuck out about that was he was wearing jeans. He draws up his dose, old school, vial and insulin syringe. And then he just like cranks his leg up over the pedal, blam! Sticks himself like right in the calf, gives the injection right through the pant leg, but in the calf, which is pretty unorthodox. Like I'd never seen a type 1 actually do a calf injection. But that was kind of like instant bond, for me. And then, in seeing him work, he was very dramatic about how he put up his wheat paste. He used his bare hands. And that was 5 years ago. So I do feel like, culturally speaking, there was just such a vacant area with diabetes. Hip hop has its culture, skateboarding has its culture. Well, what about us? Who's gonna culturally say what this disease is about? And so I think that's there's such a lack of that I'm not really drawn toward pop culture kind of things. I'm a diabetic. Who the fuck are you? Or, this is what I'm repping. This is what I can rep. And so that's kind of the attitude I've always had is, I kind of am very sure about myself in being a diabetic. But I also think that there's just such a lack of visual art, of film, of a lot of things that just don't really rep out the disease very well. It was the summer of '99. It was in August. And about a year prior to that, I'd actually started a lino cut, started to learn to do relief print. But that was kind of linoleum's a traditional medium. Woodcuts even, has more history. I had a box cutter on me anyhow, and I was already apt to do like dumpster diving stuff just to collect kind of raw materials that people were throwing away. But I remember just kind of looking at a cone and then feeling it, and I'm like, shit. I'm like, this is pretty much, and because it was in August, it was kind of softer because of the heat. I mean, it was definitely like a 90-degree day at least. So I kind of discovered right away, you can cut this. I remember taking that box cutter, I remember splicing it down and then going around, and then I had to break it down. And I knew why I did it. Like, it was definitely, hey, I think we can use this to do relief prints. But it was kind of so early in the development of my being a printmaker that, I started there. And initially I was doing my work on the exterior, which it wasn't as good because this side's slick. This side, is a lot more smooth and everything. It's easier to like apply ink on this side. So it kind of started right there, summer of August of '99. And then, as you can see, there's just stacks of these things. And it got to be a problem for sure. Like, I wasn't really into material stuff when I was at that stage of my life. Like, I could easily move. I could just, like, not a lot of belongings. But then as the years went by, these things just keep doing it, and so anytime I move, it's like actually a big pain in the ass.
You work as a pedicab driver?
Yeah. So it's a challenge because you have the chance of going low a lot. You're super active. That's my income. I get asked a lot. I'll have passengers and they'll be like, "Oh, is this your second job?" And I'm like, no, this is my main income. And the big thing, or the big danger rather, of being on insulin is the chances of an insulin reaction. So I've actually had, since I've been pedicabbing, like 4 blackouts, 4 seizures where I pretty much had dropped so low that I went into a seizure. So, and the worst of the 4 is when I just like fell off the saddle on a queue. I was waiting in a line for a ride after Rocky's game, and I just landed on the back of my head. It's a big challenge. I do like pedicabbing because I do think that exercise is probably one of the key components to managing the disease. It's a way of kind of beating down fatigue, depression, any other of sort of the things that get you down in life. So I do enjoy doing it and everything. I like the short encounters. I like architecture. I like being on a bicycle. I like doing like public transit. You know, I think you could easily do away with social studies altogether and just like spend a year or 3 riding a bus, you know, and you learn everything you need to know about culture without it being written by an academic. You know, I knew right away that I enjoyed being by myself a lot. You know, I do have some fairly close friends, but for the most part, I keep people at more than just an arm's length.